In 1934, Walt Disney developed a crazy plan that would change an entire genre of animation forever. He vowed that he would create a full-length animated movie.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Well, he was serious. Several people had called the endeavor Disney's folly. Critics and the press ridiculed him, claiming that the movie would be a flop because no one would ever be interested in watching an hour-and-a-half long cartoon. But Disney had his mindset on making a movie, and a movie he would make. 3 years later, in 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs released to massive success. It forever changed the way people looked at animation and was a triumphant start to the animated film genre. This film was part of the first Disney era, the Golden Age. These were the first 5 full-length animated movies that the Walt Disney Company had created. These movies include Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi. This era is also known as the Sugar and Spice era because of its ability to show scenes like this 1 minute,
Me?
and then scenes like this the next. In 1943, America's involvement in World War II was beginning to take its toll on the Disney Company. The majority of the animating team was drafted to fight overseas, the company was busy creating propaganda posters and cartoons for the war, and overall, money was tight. This caused Disney to put their release of full-length animated films to a halt. Instead, Disney began to make films that featured several short cartoons pieced together under one name. These films, titled package films, entered the company into the wartime era, which included Saludos Amigos, The Three Caballeros, Make Mine Music, Fun and Fancy Free, Melody Time, and The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
What?
Chances are you've never heard of these films. This is because they were only moderately successful in their time, and also never gained success after. These films weren't even on the radar to be released until World War II forced Disney's hand, so people went to see them, giving them mild box office sales simply because they were the only Disney movies they had at the time. Viewers worked with what they were given from Disney. Once full Disney movies were being produced again, package films were quickly forgotten. They often aren't even considered official Disney movies and are easily missed by the average viewer. Once the Allies won World War II, Disney was able to resume production of full-length animated feature films. However, Disney was about $4 million in debt and was on the verge of bankruptcy. The company needed a big bang to return audiences to the pre-war film style. Had that first film been unsuccessful and didn't make the money it needed to, it's doubtful that they would have come back from that failure.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
Luckily, that first release was Cinderella. It was the perfect return to the feeling that Disney movies had given people prior to the war. The classic fairy tale translated perfectly into a magic Disney film created not only for the generation, but for all generations to come. Cinderella ended up being the predecessor for the next generation of Disney, the Silver Era. The films in this era include Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, Sword in the Stone, and The Jungle Book. Most of these films centered around a fairy tale that featured far-off places and magic spells. This era is what we think of when someone says Disney. The classic fairy tales that ruled your childhood and gave you some of the most iconic moments in film history that still live on today.
What fire hands?
No better time to start. You'll love the one you'll find.
In the 1950s through 60s, people had a feeling of opportunity that they didn't have before the war. They dreamed of better possibilities and began to have the courage and belief that those dreams could come true. The movies of this era were a reflection of this sentiment. The baby boom, which was a jump in birth rate after the war, brought a large generation of children and created the perfect opportunity for Disney to satisfy parents who were looking for entertainment for their kids. The films of this era had themes of belief, dreams, and whimsical places. From the very beginning with Cinderella, knowing that if she kept on believing, her dream would come true, to Peter Pan whisking Wendy away to the one place her father told her was not real. From Alice dreaming of a land where she could escape reality, to Aurora believing that she could see her prince again. It seemed as if Disney had gotten back to its roots.
Yay!
Then, in 1966, tragedy struck. Walt Disney passed away from lung cancer.
Why?
The Disney company was still making movies, however, without their former mentor to lead them, they were confused as to what direction the company should take. This caused the company to begin the Bronze Era. These films include The Aristocats, Robin Hood, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, The Rescuers, The Fox and the Hound, The Black Cauldron, The Great Mouse Detective, and Oliver and Company. The movies of this generation weren't necessarily bad. In fact, some are considered classics. They just didn't satisfy the needs of the generation they were in. Several popular movies in the 70s and 80s were films that featured darker tones and more intense scenes, such as Jaws and Star Wars. Disney's films were mainly feel-good talking animal films that really only entertained children. This would be fine if Disney was a company whose sole purpose was marketing to children alone. A Disney film's success comes from how much the whole family liked the movie, not just the kids. The studio was stuck in a stage where they kept asking themselves, what would Walt do? But the only problem was, Walt was alive during the conservative times of the 1950s, not the somewhat rebellious times of the 70s and 80s. Society was at a place where they didn't mind seeing a bit of blood or hearing a slightly crude, sarcastic line, a much different vibe than the generations before them, and teenagers felt it was uncool to go see a Disney movie.
As if.
Some would argue that it was an overall loss of interest in animation. However, films by Don Bluth Productions were met with huge success at their release, so there was obviously still an appeal to animation, just one that Disney wasn't meeting. In 1985, in an attempt to go darker, Disney released The Black Cauldron, its first PG movie. It was the most expensive animated movie of the time and was meant to be the Snow White of this generation, meaning it would be a huge turning point for animation. Instead, it was the worst movie ever. It even lost at the box office to the Care Bears movie.
Oh, come on!
That's kind of ironic when your previous movies were considered too lighthearted. The Black Cauldron's darker tones scared children out of the theater, and word of mouth kept others from going to see it. Disney was so caught up in trying to appeal to all ages that they overlooked their key demographic. This failure opened the door to Michael Eisner, the new chairman of the company. In 1988, Disney, under the leadership of Eisner, released Oliver and Company. This movie managed to succeed in almost all the areas that The Black Cauldron had not. It featured some darker scenes, but these scenes didn't overtake the entire movie. It featured a more complex yet not complicated plot. In addition, the film featured the voices of several popular actors of that time, including Billy Joel and Bette Midler, and songs that were fine-tuned for the ears of moviegoers. Meaning, they sounded like they belonged on the radio. The all-star cast, great plot, catchy music, and contemporary lines and setting, combined with marketing tactics that highlighted all of this, made the film a huge success for all age groups and revived people's faith in Disney entertainment. Under the leadership of Michael Eisner and through the formula set forth by Oliver and Company, the Disney company entered into the Renaissance era. These films include The Little Mermaid, The Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan, and Tarzan. These films established a Broadway formula, meaning that all of them could easily be adapted to the Broadway stage with plots that are easy to follow and songs that are contemporary and easy to sing along to. Go ahead, try not to sing along.
Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world.
Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me.
Be our guest, be our guest. Put our service to the test. Tie your napkin round your neck, Sherry, and we provide the
Don't you dare close your eyes. Hold your breath, it gets better. It's our problem-free philosophy. Hakuna Matata.
Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? When will my reflection show who I am inside?
Let's get down to business.
10 movies saw the return to what Disney had done in the 50s and 60s. They took a traditional story, fairy tale, myth, or historical event and filled it with modern characters and lines to make it feel fresh and new. Most of the movies centered around human characters who lead normal lives until an event thrusts them into an adventure. Added popular celebrities such as Robin Williams or Eddie Murphy, cute side characters that could easily be merchandised, and a romantic duo, and Disney had 10 box office successes on their hands. As steady as this formula was, there was competition rising. Pixar and DreamWorks were getting success with their completely original ideas. Disney felt that people had grown tired of their formula, so they shifted their focus, and instead of releasing another fairy tale film in 2000, they released a sequel to Fantasia. This began the post-Renaissance era. These films include Fantasia 2000, Dinosaur, The Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis: The Lost Empire, Lilo and Stitch, Treasure Planet, Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, and Bolt. Most of these films tried so hard to include humorous pop culture references that they forgot to include heart. A funny yet heartwarming movie almost always did successful in the 2000s. However, Disney spent so much time experimenting with ideas that they abandoned the formula that made them great only a decade before. Disney even tried making films with CGI, thinking that if their films looked like their competitors, audiences would be drawn to them. While people were more interested in CGI than hand-drawn animation, how good a movie looks can't make up for how unappealing a movie is. Finally, in 2009, Disney decided to return to its roots once again by creating a hand-drawn Disney princess musical with Princess and the Frog. It had more success than any Disney film had in years by bringing Disney back to what made it famous in the first place, but also adding twists to make it more modern. The first black princess is hardworking and is not going to sit around and wait for a plot to move her, she's going to move the plot. This character trait was then present in almost every movie of the next stage, called the Revival Era. The films in this era so far include Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Winnie the Pooh, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, and Zootopia. Nowadays, Disney has to appeal to a society that is nostalgic for Disney classics, yet looking for characters and storylines that reflect our diverse, independent culture. Main characters of this era don't wait for someone to extend an invitation to make their dreams come true. They go out and make them come true. This is a reflection of today's empowered society. The world is more ambitious, which is evident in these films. Disney has even found a way to integrate their original fairy tale style that people revere with CGI technology that people desire, starting with 2010's Tangled. Not every film is a musical anymore, but they all feature music by popular artists such as Owl City, Fall Out Boy, or Shakira that are easily associated with the films. They continue to feature big-name stars as well. Putting all these ingredients together, they've made films in this era that will surely live on for generations to come. So the key to a successful Disney movie today is modernization, diversity of ideas, and the ability to be relatable. But that's right now. Chances are, culture will change again. And when that time comes, there may be a period of adjustment, but history shows us that Disney will ultimately find a way to pivot and continue making animated films to entertain and inspire the world for years to come.